In our headlines this morning, agriculture described as critical in wealth creation. The affluent urged to assist the less privileged to realize their dreams. Nigeria and Niger Republic signed bilateral agreement on refinery, and on the foreign scene, Israel shoots down Syrian fighter jet. Good morning and welcome to the news. My name is Nonye Mokoye. 10 female IFAD Value Chain Development Program, VCDP, farmers have been empowered with a camp gas extruder, sealing machine, and 50 kg bag of vitamin A cassava flour, each after their capacity building training at the International Institute for Tropical Agriculture, IITA, Ibadan. The training was on the use of vitamin A cassava root to produce different recipes, captioned "Business Opportunity in Vitamin A Cassava for Improved Nutrition and Livelihood." Agri-correspondent Ebeleze has details of that report.
Presenting the startup park equipment to the beneficiaries at the Agricultural Development Program Office in Oka, the State Program Coordinator of the Anambra State Value Chain Development Program, Mr. Anambra, restated the state government's commitment towards ensuring advanced capacity building for the state farmers. Mr. Aguncha disclosed that the trainees will further be trained on the production of the cassava flour for the different recipes, as well as collaborate with the Ministry of Education for the supply of the nutritious products to students and pupils to achieve the aims and objectives of the school's feeding program of the federal government. He further said the program would train even more in other aspects of agribusinesses to complement the state's government efforts in job creation to eradicate poverty. Mr. Aguncha enjoined the trainees to ensure they step down the knowledge in their respective communities.
I will be also an advocate. I will champion it. Let us introduce it to schools in partnership with the ministry and one the value chain. We invite all the schools to demonstrate here. Please have a stand where we sell our Anambra, whatever you call it, so that children will go there and buy it.
In a vote of thanks, one of the beneficiaries, Mrs. Philomena Kemeze, commended the state government and IFAD VCDP for such wealth creation venture and the support given to them by providing them with some equipment to start up, assuring the judicious use of the equipment.
We are so grateful, sir. Concerning the skills we went to Ibadan to acquire. So we don't know how to express our joy towards the thing you've done to us. And our promise is that from today henceforth, with the skills we acquired, we are going to step down to our communities, our fellow women in our area, and we are going to see that all those things we learned, we are going to impact it in them.
The capacity building, which had a total of 30 trainees, with 10 each selected from the 3 out of the 6 VCDP states, was sponsored by IFAD VCDP and conducted by Harvest Plus at the International Institute for Tropical Agriculture, IITA, Ibadan. High point of the event was presentation of the empowerment equipment to the beneficiaries by the State Program Coordinator of the Anambra State Value Chain Development Program, IFAD VCDP, Mr. Nnamdi Aguncha. From the Agricultural Development Program Office in Oka, I am Ebele Eze, reporting for ABS News.
A philanthropist from Awa in Orumba North local government area, Chief Israel Ezue, and wife, Mrs. Ogochukwu, has donated a wheelchair to a disabled person. The wheelchair was presented to the disabled by Mrs. Njideka Moneke during an ABS radio audience participatory program, Coffee Half Hour, in Oka. Correspondent Ogochukwu Okeke is our guide.
Speaking to the ABS, Mrs. Mokeme, who presented the item to the beneficiary on behalf of the benefactor, Chief Israel Ezwe, explained how she discussed the condition of the disabled person with the benefactor, said that after the discussion, Chief Ezwe, who is the traditional Prime Minister of Awa, had compassion and empathy for the victim. She commended the wife of the governor, Chief Mrs. Ebele Chukwuobiano, for putting smiles on people's faces by building houses for the homeless, among others, through curfew.
Deka nwunye gọvanọ Chief Mrs. Ebele Chukwuobiano o ji atụmatụ kafe wee na-enyere ndị mmadụ aka. Ifuna wichi ego ọ bụrụ na ogolie na ka e wee go no na o je go chala ment ka o golu ka o wee last ya nwa ya ka nji wee na asị ndị ihe nye mmadụ ife nye mmadụ ezigbo ife.
On her part, the presenter of the program, Mrs. Ifeoma Akife, appreciated Chief Ezue for supporting CAFE to ensure that disabled persons are recognized in the state and encouraged other well-to-do citizens to borrow a leave from him. Receiving the item, the beneficiary, Ms. Ifnaya Wampo, commended Chief Ezue and the wife for the kind gesture and expressed happiness for the intervention, which she said will aid her mobility.
One master, Chineke gozie majiku majoni abuna nkebi nebi aha Jesus.
Narrating her ordeal, a sister to the beneficiary, Ms. Mesoma Wampo, said that she has been in the condition for years, saying that she was the only person taking care of the disabled sister and prayed for God's blessing on the philanthropist.
Kenemu onye vila iwe na sikachuku gozie kwe nwunye ka nya onye la akọfa na akpa ha na enweta nke wee na-enye ndị ọzọ. So obi na-atọ m ụtọ maka iwe evunye ya tata. At least omewi one na school. In
Oka, Ogochukwu Okeke reporting for ABS News.
Tears of joy there. May God indeed bless the philanthropist. A former permanent secretary in Ministry of Information, Chief D.K. Ndulue, has commended Governor Willie Obiano for placing the welfare of civil servants as priority in his government. He gave the commendation in an ABS television phone-in program, Good Morning, Anambra, on the topic, strengthening the public service. Our correspondent, Oluebube Ude, has details of that report.
Who featured as a guest on the program, commended the governor as there has not been any form of labor agitating from civil servants in the state since his administration. Rather, he noted there have been various forms of motivational packages, including increase in salaries. Chief Dike further urged the government to build more effective communication links between the masses and government to gain first-hand feedback on government policies. He said that during the existence of postal service, people wrote to the government officials and expected reply, which were never denied them.
Well, the Obiano administration is unique. Why I say this is unique is because we need to ask ourselves, how many state governors have vision and mission? You see, formally, when the minister comes up with a policy which the civil service helps him to formulate, the civil servant has a religious conviction and belief that this policy must be actualized. Even if he doesn't like it, he has no other choice than to implement that. Now, vis-a-vis the incumbent or the present dispensation in the state, he has not only vision and mission, but he has made it crystal clear by training and retraining. The man is a typical example of leadership. And you can see that the civil servants who are lucky to be in the service now and still running are, by any standard, the best amongst civil servants in other states, apart from those in the federal service.
Contributing, the Senior Special Assistant to the Governor on Secondary Education, Dr. Paul Ifani, who also featured on the program, urged parents to engage their children to learn new skills during the long vacation. Dr. Ifani emphasized that children should be encouraged in many other ways, apart from academics, as they can be engaged in learning various vocational skills, reiterating that children should not always be saddled with much academic work, but be given enough time to rest, as against the practice of burdening children with holiday lessons. He also urged parents, schools, churches, and government to go back to the basics in modeling children's lives to be good ambassadors of the society.
And for me, holiday is a time for me to catch up. Those subjects that are very challenging, that's the time you read. That if you're going to a new class, that's the time. I remember in our own time, we get books. We are going to class 3 or 4, you get books and read. Okay, apart from academics, you can engage them. Say, for instance, your father is a trader or a farmer. You can see the person. Something happened interestingly. I have a problem in my house with power. And my friend, somebody gave me a name. A guy came fix it. Guess what? He's a student. I said, how do you learn it? He said, my father is an electrician. So he works with the father. So during this time, I encourage parents, let the kids see what you're doing. You can go out with them. You know, just like he said, apart from the study, you can engage them that. Above all, they should not, it's dangerous not for them not to read for the entire 2 months. But don't overload that. Engage them in other things, you know. That's really the time you stay with them. You discover that once a kid starts school, you don't have enough time to spend with him or her. But
in Oka, I am Oluebube Ude, ABS News.
Agota Diocese of the Anglican Communion has warned against the use of money to induce the electorate during elections in the country. In a communique issued at the end of the first session of the 5th Synod at the Cathedral Church of St. John, Ekulobia, Agota local government area, the diocese described the use of money to woo voters during election as counterproductive, as it will make eligible voters not to vote according to their conscience in enthroning a credible leadership. The report is taken from our studio.
Urged Christians to take full ownership of the nation's electoral processes by obtaining their permanent voter cards in order to exercise their franchise during the 2019 general elections and subsequent ones in the country. It urged those occupying elective positions to desist from taking the electorate for granted, reminding them of the need to place priority on the welfare of the citizenry. The communique condemned the incessant killings of innocent citizens across the country by the suspected Fulani cattle herdsmen and called on the federal government to be more proactive in tackling the menace, which it noted is threatening the peace and corporate existence of the Nigerian nation. It stressed the need for more employment opportunities to be created for the teeming youth populace in order to divert their mind from crime and restiveness. The Synod, which has its theme as Jesus Christ the Foundation and the Chief Cornerstone, called for improved power supply in the country for enhanced business transactions. It called on Nigerians to resort to prayers for God's intervention in the myriads of challenges facing the country, especially insecurity, poverty, and hunger. The communique, which was jointly signed by the President of the Synod and Bishop of Agota Diocese, Right Reverend Samuel Ezofo, and the outgoing clerical Synod Secretary, Venerable Steve Nadi, commended Governor Willie Obiano of Anambra State for his interventions in virtually all sectors of the state economy, especially in agriculture, which it noted will ensure food security, and called on others to emulate him. The Synod finally called for more World Bank interventions in the pockets of erosion, ravaging different parts of Anambra State to save lives and property.
President Muhammadu Buhari and his Nigerian counterpart, President Mahmoud Issoufou, have signed a bilateral agreement on the construction of hydrocarbon pipeline from Niger to Nigeria. The two presidents signed the Memorandum of Understanding at the State House, Abuja, and inaugurated the Steering and Technical Committee. During the signing, President Buhari said he was happy that several productive engagements held between the Nigerian and Nigerian authorities have resulted in the positive agreement to progress with activities on the important project. The project also includes potential refinery around Kaduna axis. Israel shot down a Syrian fighter jet it said had breached its airspace on Tuesday as Syrian forces reached the Golan Heights frontier for the first time in 7 years. The Israeli military said it monitored the advance of the Syrian Subco fighter jet and shot it down with a pair of Patriot missiles after it penetrated Israeli airspace by about 1.2 miles. Syrian forces have been battling rebels and Islamic State militants at the frontier with Israel in recent weeks. According to report, yesterday marked the first time government forces reached the border fence with the UN's disengagement observer force at the edge of the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights. It was the first time Israel shot down a Syrian jet in 4 years. Israel's military said there had been an increase in internal fighting in Syria since the morning hours, including intensified activity by the Syrian Air Force. Minutes before the reported shutdown, Syria's state-run Al-Ikbireh TV was broadcasting footage from the fence demarcating the UN buffer zone between Syria and Israeli forces inside the Golan Heights. A UN observer post could be seen just on the other side of the fence. Israel captured the Golan Heights from Syria in 1967, and the UN deployed a peacekeeping force between the two sides in 1974. Remember that you can listen to news and programs on ABS 88.5 FM from any part of the world by logging on to our website www.absradiotv.com. Like us at www.facebook.com/absradiotelevision. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ABS Radio TV. The main points of the news once again. Agriculture has been described as critical in wealth creation. The affluent have been urged to assist the less privileged to realize their dreams. Nigeria and Niger Republic signed bilateral agreement on refinery. And on the foreign scene, we brought a report that Israel has shot down Syrian fighter jets. And that's the news for this morning. Thanks for your time. My name is Nonya Nwokoye. Good morning, Anambra continues.